start today's program, our first speaker is Professor Amartya Dutta from ISI, Indian Statistical Institute, Calcutta. Professor Amartya Dutta is a very well-known, renowned mathematician and also an expert on the history of mathematics in India and also world history of mathematics. He has written extensively on various topics related to mathematics history, mathematician, and also particularly to Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray. And it would have been better if we could able to invite him personally in the campus and listen to him, but the pandemic situation does not allow us to do that. So the stage is yours, Amartya.
Now,
It is
Acharya
fine.
Prafulla Chandra Ray's life is so multifaceted that I once tried to write about him very briefly and cutting off all details which are common to other eminent what is unique to PC Ray, and that too very briefly, and that ran to some 60-70 pages. When Sri Aurobindo left Bengal National College in 1907, he gave an advice to the students. If you will study for her sake. So she refers to India, the motherland. Train yourself body and mind and soul for her service. You will earn your living that you may live for her sake. You will go abroad to foreign lands that you may bring back knowledge with which you may do service to her. Work that she may prosper. Suffer that she may rejoice. All is contained in that one single advice. Now, if you are looking for one individual who has an embodiment of whatever is said here, that is Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray. So if you just remember this passage of Sri Aurobindo, then you have some idea of the totality of Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray. Mind you, Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray is much older to Sri Aurobindo. It is not that he has been inspired by this passage, but independently, he has been living the ideal which Sri Aurobindo has presented to the students. The common thread, which connects the various streams of intense love for the country and the people. So there all the details that you hear today or you read about later, just see this one connecting thread there. And I'll try to present PC Ray as from the point of view of the fact that he is a product of the Bengal Renaissance. At the same time, he had enormous impact on the Renaissance, both in the scientific, intellectual, economic, social, in every sense, because he comes somewhere to the middle. So the main streams of activity, right? He is the pathfinder in chemical research in modern India, and he was absolutely prolific in his research. He is a pathfinder in chemical education, a great teacher and mentor. He created an Indian school of chemistry. Pioneer historian of ancient Indian chemical science and technology. He is the founder of chemical and pharmaceutical industries in India. And mind you, these four streams, it is not that he moved from one to the other in different phases of his life. All were pursued together. And over and above, he is an extensive writer, a literary writer on a variety of subjects, a social worker with exceptional munificence. Above all, he is a patriot and a nationalist. And there are many secrets about PC Ray. One thing is that he gave secrets about bombs. Now, these things are obviously by its very nature not well documented. You have to take the words of the revolutionary themselves at the face value. So now, how perspective, 1857 reminds you of the revolt or first war of independence, whichever you look at it, and the transfer from the company to the crown. 1858, Jagadish Chandra Bose was born, just a few years before P.C. Ray. Bengali language, what Sri Aurobindo would say the language of the gods. Bengali language is of course not 19th century, but in 19th century it became a language of the gods. And one person who made it a language of the god, Madhusudan Datta's. His epic was published in the same year in which P.C. Ray was born. The element thallium was discovered in 1861. Rabindranath Tagore was born in 1861. And then you have Prafulla Chandra, born in the same year, 1861, on 2nd August. Just a little later, Swami Vivekananda would be born, and then Ashutosh Mukherjee would be born. So this is the environment of Bengal or India at that time. A quick coverage of his family background. His father was a man of refined taste, wide learning and enlightened views. He pioneered English medium and women's education in his village. He was acquainted with Vidyasagar and some of the leading lights of the period. And one can trace the impact of Vidyasagar on Prafulla Chandra Ray's educational and social activities. In fact, today, I would not have to talk about the munificence of Prafulla Chandra Ray. I can only tell you, it may come as a shock, that Vidyasagar is known as Daya Sagar. I mean, he is known for his donations. But Prafulla Chandra Ray's munificence far, far exceeds even Vidyasagar. Now that is a theme by itself. His mother, Bhuvan Mohini Devi, was also accomplished. He was the third son of among the 5 brothers, and he had 2 sisters. Early life, so Prafulla Chandra, remember, he is born in 1861. Till 1870, he studied in village school founded by his father. His early intellectual training came from conversations with his father, who was a man of refined taste and accomplishment. And his own words, so whenever you see quotation mark, it is from P.C. Ray's autobiography. So he used to ransack the shelves of his father's library and took delight. This is a child, you see, till 1870. So a child, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old child we are talking about. He took delight and memorized quotes in Johnson's dictionary, like, ignorance is the curse of God, knowledge the wing wherewithal we fly to heaven. Now these are influences on him. Ignorance is the curse of God. He sees this in the dictionary and it is written in this style. Shakespeare is abbreviated as Shack, and as a child he used to wonder what is Shack. Anyway, this early acquaintance with Shakespeare later ripened into close friendship. He became an essayist. He has essays on Shakespeare, and he was an authority on Shakespeare. These are things we will not be able to talk about today. By age of nine, he had developed an inquisitive mind, and his predilection was for history and geography. He developed closed bond with village folks, which he maintained throughout his life. And this will get reflected in his throwing himself heart and soul into relief work during 2 devastations in Bengal life. One was the Khulna famine in 1922. The way P.C. Ray is remembered for organizing the relief program with his students and youngsters like Meghna and Subhash Bose. They worked under him, and the experience that Meghnad Shah had in work under P.C. Ray on this flood control, it had such an impact that it stayed him, and see Meghnad Shah being so emotionally involved with programs about flood relief like the DVC and all that. Now that's another chapter which we can't get into. Now 1870 when Chandra comes to Calcutta, he is admitted to Hare School, and prescribed textbooks don't. Yeah, so health, but he develops a serious health problem. So regular school education is discontinued. He returns to his ancestral home. And mark the words, this apparent tragedy of he being unable to go through regular school education, he calls it a blessing in disguise, because it sets him free from the tyranny of the dull and dreary routine method followed in the schools. And he freely indulges in his passion for studies without hindrance. Unfortunately, the health problem that he developed, it remained with him for the rest of his life. Now, the kind of readings that he did independently on his own without going to school, rich English literature, selections from modern English literature, Goldsmith. And I think what is more exciting was that I told you that Bengali language was turning into the language of the gods. After Madhusudan is a Bankim Chandra. So P.C. Prafulla Chandra Ray was witness to a new dawn being created in Bengali literature, with Bankim Chandra's masterpiece being serialized. And he used to wait with dense and breathless interest. So the writer Prafulla Chandra is being created. Then historical studies. He reads books like Valmiki and his Age of Kalidas. P.C. Ray is a historian. And here you see the historian is being developed. And then the scientist, he reads articles on physics, zoology, geology, etc. He gets inspired by stories about Benjamin Franklin bringing down electric current through a flying kite. And then there are plenty of newspapers. He reads the grammar of Vidyasagar as well as Principia Latina, and he wonders about the similarity between Sanskrit and Latin. And this generates in him a lifelong interest in languages. Later he would read French and German and read papers in the original. Statistical papers. Okay, 1876. He returns to conventional education and is admitted to a school founded by the Brahmo leader Keshav Sen. In 1879, he passes the entrance exam, our school final exam. And now, you know, mark the decision he takes. At that time, like probably now, the most prestigious college was the Presidency College, but that was a government college. Government college means British government college. He doesn't join Presidency. Instead, he joins Metropolitan Institution, which is now Vidyasagar College, founded by the great Vidyasagar. Although the college has inadequate facilities, because it is a national institution, which, in his words, we could look upon as our own. And a nationalist leader, S.N. Banerjee, Surendranath Banerjee, teaches English prose there. That is what determines his choice. So as I told you, that remember the connecting thread, intense love for the country and its people. And he develops deep fascination for literature and history. And imagine that era. Most of his contemporaries would be pursuing literature and philosophy, and he himself has deep fascination for literature and history. But Prafulla Chandra decides to go abroad to study science and bring that knowledge to the country. I mean, just remember that speech of Sri Aurobindo. Because the key to the country's progress, he felt, lies in modern science and technology. So he doesn't pursue literature and history formally. Of course, he would be pursuing it on his own. He decides to go abroad to study science. But before that, there is an intermediate period. There was no facility for science in the Vidyasagar College or a metropolitan institution. So he used to attend chemistry and physics classes at Presidency College and attracted to chemistry, which was taught by Alexander Pedler, who was a proper researcher. In fact, he became FRS later because of research he did in Presidency, and he was highly skilled in performing experiments. But he was not satisfied. In a laboratory, makeshift laboratory made at the home of a friend. So that was one, the experimental side. And theoretically, he prepares himself by studying as many books on chemistry as he could. Then he gets Gilchrist Scholarship. He was one of the 2 Indians to get the scholarship that year. With that, he joins University of Edinburgh, and in the first year studies chemistry, physics, zoology, and botany, and he feels natural affinity towards chemistry, as in Presidency. And there again, he finds a great teacher. His name is also Alexander Crum Brown. And in 1885, he completes BSc from Edinburgh University. And then starts his research. A bit of background, in the mid-1880s, organic chemistry was progressing very well, and Crum Brown, his teacher, was an expert in organic chemistry. So the in thing would be to go for organic chemistry. Whereas inorganic chemistry was very vaguely understood, though inorganic chemistry deals with compounds which are useful. P.C. Ray, this is his day, he chooses to do research in inorganic chemistry, which was kind of dimly understood at that time. And his DSc thesis is on inorganic chemistry. Let us get into the technicality of that. And as you can see from the quote, it was quite well received. And you can see the kind of recognition he gets. So he gets DSc, of course, in 1887. And mark you the difference in attitude. This would be now very commonplace for us that our PhD degree is our starting point in research career, but that was not the, so as I was saying, that for Prafulla Chandra, this is something new, that this is the starting point of his scientific career. Now, his DSc, his thesis was so much appreciated that he becomes vice president of the Chemical Society of the Edinburgh University. The president is Crum Brown, and in his absence, he has to conduct the society. And then he got the Hope Prize scholarship. This is named after Hope, who discovered that water reaches maximum density at 4th degree. So something interesting happened that as a condition for Hope scholarship is that the fellow has to help junior students with practical work. And in that connection, he gave Hugh Marshall, a student, one of the objects in his DSc thesis, double sulfates of cobalt, copper, and potassium. And Marshall did the analysis of that. So that led to Marshall's discovery of per-disulfuric acid, which are now commercial chemicals for Marshall's acid. or martial salt. So PC Ray had a crucial role in martial society. During this period, mind you, PC Ray was studying. So once his DSC is over, he makes up, he tries to of organic chemistry from the favorable surroundings, and later in life, around 1920s or maybe even earlier, he would publish significant papers on organic chemistry. So he returns to Calcutta in 1888 with strong testimonials. One thing has to be mentioned in this connection. An example is intellectual courage and patriotic vigor. There was an essay competition when he was a BSc student, and PC Ray wrote an essay. Everybody was writing on that, and this he later published as a book. Now, just see the hearing of PC Ray. He has gone to Britain for a degree from British University, so many pounds on palatial barracks, but which cannot spare a farthing for laboratories, should forfeit the title of a civilized government. He is criticizing the British government sitting in Britain while waiting for a British degree. Indian government is essentially a tax squeezing machinery and not a government for the people. And these are not, idle essays. Got noticed. John Bright, the noted British parliamentarian, endorsed his essay and wrote a letter to him, which was flashed with, of course, permission from Bright in the newspapers. And you can see that Bright is strongly critical of the way the British are conducting their business. Now, PC Ray comes back to India. Now, what is the condition of India or Calcutta at that time? Just to give you a glimpse about the two guys in Calcutta at that time, J.C. Bose and Ashutosh Mukherjee, what they're doing at that time. So there were two kinds of educational service. One is the imperial, which was the more privileged, but which was practically reserved for Europeans. And the other was called provincial. Now, thanks to the liberal viceroy, Lord Ripon, was appointed in the imperial service. But his appointment was opposed by the principle of privacy. Left, and they offered him a salary. Jagadish for 3 years as a protest for taking a salary, and 3 years they were impressed by his teaching skill and lofty character, and they gave a salary with retrospective effect. In fact, Ashutosh Mukherjee, whom I abbreviate as ATM, starts publishing papers when he's a student. So let me skip that. So point is that Ashutosh Mukherjee leaves mathematics and goes to law. Later he gets into Calcutta University through the Senate to change the rules, etc. there. But Bengal loses a mathematician. That is again because of this discrimination, racial discrimination. Now, PC Ray returns to India in 1888 for full 1 year. Now, he is the most qualified. He has DSc. He is unemployed for a year. And then in 1889, he is appointed in a temporary position at only rupees 250 per month. A ridiculous for someone with his qualifications. He protests but accepts the offer. Research facilities are abysmal. So it is abysmal in what sense? Actually poisonous. That during practical classes, the atmosphere became suffocating and highly injurious to health. But with the efforts of Pisra and Pedler, the authorities agreed to construct a new laboratory in a new building. And they discussed plans with Ray and Pedler. Now look at the foresight of P.C. Ray. When he was in Edinburgh, he procured a copy of the drawings and diagrams of the laboratory in Edinburgh, and that is shared now. And Pedler also had some designs of German laboratories, and this got incorporated. In 1994, the new laboratory becomes operational, and now P.C. Ray initiates chemical research in modern India. During the next 40 years, amid other nation-building activities, he would be writing 150 research papers. He would be doing prolific research on inorganic and organic compounds, particularly sulfur compounds, and especially organic nitrites. Till 1916, he will be in Presidency College, and in 1916, Ashutosh Mukherjee opens up a position in chemistry in Calcutta University. His first research is not in the he was upset with adulteration of food stuff, and he had a chemical examination of certain fats and oils to create standards by which adulteration could be identified. In 1895, a landmark happens. He discovers mercurous nitrite, a moderately stable yellow solid formed by a chemical reaction between metallic mercury and dilute aqueous nitric acid. Now, what is interesting is that this mercury, it is a compound of unexpected stability composed of two relatively unstable ions. And so it attracts immediate international attention. He begins to get congratulatory letters from the eminent chemists of the time. And incidentally, P.C. Ray had on mercury because it is something special in Ayurveda. Now, I already told you area, and this field of nitrate chemistry was not well explored. And this discovery of mercurous nitrite opens up research on what is called nitrate chemistry, and it becomes a fertile area of research. P.C. Ray and his students, this fertile field of nitrate chemistry producing a huge body of results. Let us not get into that. And it shatters the existing belief that nitrites, they were thought to be unstable and fugitive substance. And the research of P.C. Ray's school shows it's not. And P.C. Ray comes to be regarded as a master of nitrites. Now, something has happened now. Unlike his friend Jagadish Bose, or let us say Ramanujan, they were solitary researchers, absorbed in their own world. Whereas P.C. Ray, half of his 150 papers are with his students. He creates an enthusiasm for research among students. And with the result, he brings into the atmosphere of Indian university an urge towards research. He is the first in this. You see, J.C. Bose and P.C. Ray both are the ordered in, but J.C. Bose didn't create a school. He did everything by himself, essentially. Whereas PCI created a school. And this was an internationally acclaimed school of, is called Indian School of Chemistry. And this developed in a broader perspective that in the 1890s seemed to be, many landmark things seem to be happening, like Sri Aurobindo returns to India and starts his work. The mighty speeches of Swami Vivekananda takes place in 1893. And that is also the year when he gives the idea of setting up research institute to Jamshedji Tata. J.C. Bose creates a miracle of radio transmission using microwaves. And the same year, P.C. Ray throws another on this discovery of impact, apart from the research, even more broadly, that in there was the Universities Act. It wanted to have control over the government control over universities. But one good thing about it was that for the first time, the university moves away from being just an exam taking body to have provision for faculty appointments and to promote research. Universities becoming research institute in universities, that is now forced by the work of J.C. Bose and P.C. Ray in presidency. Now imagine Ashutosh Mukherjee, the science college within Calcutta University, but the British don't give him money, they give him, two barristers give 30 lakhs from their pocket for this science college. Why would they do that? It is ultimately due to the work of P.C. Ray, which gives that assurance that something splendid will happen if this money is given. This is something indirect. There is a violation of textbook wisdom. Existing theory is that ammonium nitrate is unstable. Extremely unstable. It is not possible to isolate it because it readily breaks up into nitrogen gas and water with the evolution of heat. And in 1907, so the first bullet is textbook knowledge. In 1907, P.C. Ray isolates ammonium nitrate in pure form, determines its vapor density in vacuum, shows the can be sublimated in vacuum even at 60 degrees. And the 1904 Nobel laureate Ramsay, who discovered the inert gases, he lauded his work, and you look at his language. We had the privilege and pleasure of listening tonight to that eminent Indian chemist, whose name is already familiar to us for his most interesting researches on nitrites, and who unaided has kept the torch burning for years in that ancient land of civilization and learning. So mind you that how P.C. Ray by his personality and work is bringing glory to the country, and by that time he has also done work on, and now we moved on to P.C. Ray as a teacher. That there is a Rabindranath Tagore, which I have translated into English. It is actually in Bengali. He gives a Upanishadic analogy to explain the role of P.C. Ray. So he says the scientist unfolds the latent power in the material world. That's fine. But Prafulla Chandra arouses the hidden, unmanifested powers of perception, discernment, and insight in his students. The seeker of knowledge is not rare, at least it was not rare in Rabindranath's time. But seldom does one come across a savant who can activate the mind of men by the force of his character. That is P.C. Rai. And then he gives the analogy, the Upanishadic analogy, that the one becoming many, that is the root of creation. Acharya Prafulla Chandra follows the same principle. He becomes many in his pupils. His mind has rejuvenated in the minds of many. This would not have been possible if he had not made a gift of himself unreservedly. And this power is a divine power. I quickly mention some students. Neil Ratan Dhar, pioneer in physical chemistry. He served in the Nobel Prize Committee for 3 years. Gyanendranath Mukherjee, pioneer in colloidal chemistry. Gyan Chandra Ghosh, who is famous for Ghosh equation, and he was the director of the first IIT in India. In fact, it was he who gave the structure of IIT, that is how IIT will function and its pan-India character. Biresh Guha, the father of modern biochemistry, who saved numerous lives during Bengal famine by creating artificial milk and protein. Now, a lot of illustrious students of P.C. Rai in chemistry proper. Jitendranath Rakshit, one of his finds, he failed in St. Xavier's College. And P.C. Rai made him a very important researcher whose work is mentioned in textbooks, Rakshit's work. Then there are other names who are identified with other areas like UN Brahmachari, but you can see the effect of chemistry in their work also. Or Satyan Bose, he actually worked in chemistry, which not many people are aware. Then Bhatnagar was Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar. He was his grand student, that is student. Now see the kind of statements which were being made by scientists of that time, scientists abroad, about the students of P.C. Rai. They were infused by the spirit of their master in India and were determined to carry on the great work which he had begun. Nobly have they done so. India now ranks high amongst the nations of the world. And it would be difficult to overestimate the part which the work and influence of P.C. Rai played in this splendid development. Now, I made a note of some features of P.C. Rai's magical teaching, which is elaborated in the article. He carefully planned and even rehearsed his experiments, and they were meant to supplement the class lectures. The class lectures were carefully prepared. He didn't do this bravado of extempore down beforehand, very carefully designed. And he transmitted by his passion, he transmitted for teaching, he transmitted to pupils his love for not only chemistry, but for India. And he was a historian, remember, he wrote about Indian history, but he knew about the entire world history also in chemistry. In his teaching, he gave the historical insights, contribution of pioneers, they in teachers, and he again saying anecdotes about the great masters of chemistry. And with his natural wit and his wide and literary and historical readings, his lecture would be enriching and lively. Above all, as a personality, he had this simplicity, which is also reflected in his writings. A student coming from a village will give helpful advice if asked for. Any student in financial difficulty, he would sponsor him. Now, the other aspect is his industrialist. Now, this is a very vast topic. And I randomly Bengal chemical. There are two aspects. We actually call it Bengal chemical. PC Ray would not have liked it, the name, because he was very particular the pharmaceutical aspect, that medicine, right? Pharmaceutical aspect should be emphasized. Therefore, he to refer to it as Bengal chemical and pharmaceutical. Of course, with the growing unemployment, PC Ray realized that the lost spirit, you see, in India was a great nation industrially till 1600. And that spirit of industrial enterprise, it has to be revived. And PC Ray tried to do that. And it has to be done creatively. There has to be innovation. So he gave the example through Bengal Chemical. Bengal Chemical, mind you, it was a research institute. New things were innovated there. So it demonstrates to Bengal and India how to harness scientific knowledge creatively for industrial use. And you know, the tooth for some country to be industrially strong, it needs iron and sulfuric acid. Iron part was being taken care of by the Tatars. And so PC Ray took up sulfuric acid. Another aspect which should be noted is that he made use of the Ayurvedic formulae, or Ayurvedic principles to manufacture drugs, and those drugs interestingly were found to be more effective than the Western drugs of that era. Now, he wrote a book, and that book is very interesting, by the way, Inorganic Chemistry in 1909, and there was this picture of Bengal Chemical Factory. Now, just imagine how inspiring it would be that for the students of that era, 1909. That is the time, you know, when people like S.N. Bose and Meghnad Shah would be students, that in the textbook, they see the factory, a very flourishing factory right here in Calcutta. It's a very interesting story, a real story. When PC Ray was looking for a job in 1819, and you remember he was given a very poor salary, and when he protested, that time the Deputy of Public Instruction told him that if he was that good, he could find his own enterprise, and maybe he can appoint assistants at the salary of teacher. This was told sarcastically. This actually did. Within 2 years, set up the Bengal Chemical, and ironically, the British would be begging to Bengal Chemical for supplies during war, and they were the local British were not confident of approaching him. They approached him through the London Chemical Society, which PC Ray would not be able to refuse. So during chemical supplied large quantities of nitric, sodium thiosulfate, etc., etc. And PC Ray helped the establishment of many other industries. You can have a quick look at this long list. PC Ray himself valued his ancient work on ancient. He said that most of the work or whatever written seems to be trash, but many people will remember me for this. History of history, and it took a painstaking research of 12 years. I will quote from the book. The book is dry, but he has very interesting lectures, and I'll just quote from there to give you a sample about how he thinks makes it interesting. So he highlighted ancient Indian production of steel, distillation of zinc. So you see that the kind of comments he makes, we are not aware of similar tests being applied anywhere at such an early period. Then the process of zinc, PC Ray says, is so highly scientific that it can be quoted in verbatim in any treatise on modern chemistry. Then P.C. Ray refers to Humphrey Davy, who discovered potassium. He made the remark that ancients did not know distinction between potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate, and P.C. Ray shows that in Shrushruta, this distinction is clearly stated. Then in Shrushruta, there is a clear distinction between caustic alkali and mild alkali, and P.C. Ray comments that this method will look for in vain in any European treatise before the 16th or 17th century. Again, the process given in the Shrushruta is so scientific that it can be bodily transferred to any modern textbook on chemistry. But P.C. Ray also points out that the cause of the difference is not explained in Shrushruta. For that, you have to wait till Black, who explains that the presence of carbon dioxide in mild alkali causes the difference. Then he also highlights this statement that they are alone. You see that there is this that Indians are not amateurs. And you see what the text actually says. They are alone to be regarded as real teachers who can show by experiments what they teach. They are the deserving pupils. Experiments from the teachers can actually perform them. And others are merely stage actors. Now, imagine during the first decade of this 20th century, P.C. Ray is simultaneously researching on nitrites, teaching extensively, researching on ancient Indian chemistry, setting up Bengal chemical, and writing textbook. 5 things in parallel. Just imagine, and no wonder he has been aptly compared with Rishi Dadhichi. I don't know who was the first to say it, but Shyama Prasad Mukherjee is certainly one who referred to him as Dadhichi. I don't know whether he is the first. First Prime Minister of Bengal, at that time it was Prime Minister, Chief Minister came later, Prafulla Chandra Ray, first Prime Minister of independent West Bengal, made this remark. So I'm now kind of rounding out that there have been greater scientists in India than P.C. Ray. And Ramanujan and J.C. Bose would be obvious examples. More capable industrialists, teachers as simple and dedicated, who too love their students, social workers like him, patriots who have made greater sacrifices than P.C. Ray. Then there have been thinkers who combined a modern outlook with a reverence for the ancients, thinkers who believed in big industries and yet favored the spreader of cottage industries, people who, in spite of being city dwellers, appreciated simple charm of life, etc., etc. After that, he sums up. But it is rare to come across all these qualities in a single individual. And in times of crisis, the nation needs a person like P.C. Ray. And deep assessment of P.C. Ray by Jagadish Bose. Sir P.C. Ray has produced a deep impression in his dual capacity as a pathfinder and originator of work of great utility. From the earliest days, he exhibited a special faculty for carrying out original investigations of high order. It is impossible at the present time for others to realize the numerous difficulties and obstacles that confronted him. Jagadish Bose is eyewitness to that. Then, but he also, in his long and distinguished career, he not only made important contributions in the advancement of science, but has evoked the true spirit of research among his disciples. Such an achievement in the lifetime of one man is remarkable, but Sir P.C. Ray has done a deal more. He was one of the first to realize the importance of Indian industries for the economic advancement of the country. With this object in view, he reached the very little he possessed, and the venture started in this modest way has grown into the most successful chemical industry in the whole of India. The association of plain living and high thinking is always very rare. In addition to these, there is in Sir P.C. Ray the element of vigorous action which knows no rest. The combination of such qualities in a single individual is indeed rare in any country, and there can be no higher example for the younger generation to emulate than the life of this great teacher. He says, there is a connecting link pervading my life work. My activities, this is said in his autobiography, my activities are parts in a comprehensive piece. Whatever field I plowed as a humble instrument in the hand of Providence. So basically, he says, divinity has done the work through him, but the failures are my own. But my successes, if any, are to be attributed to the guidance of the all-knowing, who chose me to be his humble instrument. After all, a divinity shapes our end. That is how he ends his autobiography. Now, I'm not giving you a whole list of references, but I'm trying to be realistic. If you want to know the technical aspect of work of P.C. Ray, going into the real technicalities, and also see, you see, P.C. Ray worked at a time when this modern X-ray analysis and systems were not there. Now, where his findings stand in the light of the later findings, all these analysis you will find in this excellent book, Glimpses of Acharya P.C. Ray's work in chemical science by Animesh Chakravarti, who retired from the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. And the kind of article which kind of talk that I've given, the full details, you can get in my article in 6 parts. You can just contact me and I'll be happy to send the reprints. I'll strongly recommend reading P.C. Ray's life and experiences of a Bengal chemist just as a literary piece of work. And unless you are a serious researcher in history of science, I would not recommend his History of Hindu Chemistry. It is dry. But do read his lectures. That is, they are very fascinating. And this textbook, Inorganic Chemistry, is a model how a book can be written and how a topic like chemistry, which is thought to be dry, can be made lively. It is still a beautiful model. I finally would like to share with you a line from Sri Aurobindo's Savitri: one man's perfection still can save the world. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Amartya, for this remarkable talk.